mulata. Caminas. Ay, mamita, camina, anda. Caminas. Dale un poquito para acá. Caminas.
Hey, Comment Sensor, thank you so much for joining us today. You are in for such a treat because we have an incredible filmmaker and his actress, director, producer wife with us. I am so excited to introduce you to a lovely man named Kenneth Castillo, who is a kicking ass director. He has done 7 feature films independently. Let me tell you something, that is not a small feat. It's not a small feat to do 1 feature film, let alone 7 and with distribution. Hopefully by the end of this interview, you will be empowered to go make your own film. Please help me welcome Kenneth Castillo and Karla Ojeda. Welcome.
Thank you. Wow.
Welcome.
Quite the introduction.
Well,
I'm blushing.
I have so much to ask, so I'm just going to dive in. First
Sure.
of all, how did you get started in entertainment?
I started acting in middle school and got the bug, and then I decided that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, was be on stage, and so I went to theater school, and that's where we met in college.
Wow, what theater school did you go to?
Los Angeles Theater Academy.
Oh, fantastic. High school.
It's a conservatory program, so it's
Oh,
very
okay.
intense. It's on a college campus. You basically are there 24/7.
Wow, and you grew up in Los Angeles.
I grew up in East LA, yeah.
Oh, wow. And how did you start? What made you want to get into entertainment?
I've always been into movies. Like I watched The Godfather at a very young age, and I kind of lost track of what I wanted to do when I got out, and I thought I wanted to be an actor. I went to this acting academy, and that's really where it started for me. It wasn't until later I really got into writing and directing way later after we got graduated, and I realized that I'm not that good of an actor, but I'm a pretty decent director and writer, so...
I'm going to stop you. You're an excellent director.
Well, thank you.
Excellent. I was looking at some of your work yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Especially the Cholo Chaplin.
Thank you.
Love that. That is so, not only is it unique, but it's so innovative. So I want to talk about your process as a filmmaker and writer, because you write your projects and then you shoot them. So let's start with the writing.
All of my films are very personal. I use the urban genre as my backdrop. In terms of writing the script, I usually come up with an ending and a beginning very early on. And the idea would just get sparked by the simplest of things. I'll give you an example. Like on my second feature, while I was editing...
Tell us the name of it.
Ghost Town. I had a trilogy of films called The Drive-By Chronicles, and Ghost Town was the second in that trilogy. Ghost Town is based off a part of this city that I grew up in. I didn't grow up in Ghost Town, I grew up in Wilmington, and there was this part of Wilmington where a lot of drug families were conducting business, and for years, decades. And when I was doing Sideways, which was the first film in that series, a newspaper article had come out that the ATF had arrested a lot of the people there. I knew about these guys when I was 7. And now I was in my late 30s at the time, and they finally busted all of them. So I just came with the idea, what would a love story in that area, what would that be? And so that's how Ghost Town came about. It wasn't necessarily about drug dealers, and yes, they were involved, but it was a love story of these 2 people coming together and leaving that part of the city. So that's how that one came out. But in terms of writing, for whatever reason, I'll see an ending, and I go, that's how I want it to end, this is how I want it to start. And then I have to earn my ending. A script can take, I've written scripts in 10 days, I've written scripts in 3 weeks. This current script I've been working on for past 5 years is like my Godfather 2. It's my opera, my urban opera. I can't get to my ending. So it's just taking me a long time with that one to get there. Because I have to earn it or I have to change it. And I'm getting to a point where now I'm not liking the ending as much. So maybe I just take the story and see where it goes.
Let me ask you a question, because even though you didn't go to film school, you did go to theater school.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the principles that you learned in doing acting and theater that you were able to transition with into your film making?
First, the discipline and the approach to the work as a craft. It's not about validation. It wasn't about attention. It's just really about acting as a craft. I learned the craft of acting, and that gave me a huge edge in being able to work with actors. I'm an actor's director. I've been called that. I definitely consider myself that because I know the language. My job is to build the confidence and get as much of who they are into the character. That's what I tried to do. So I had that, going in. And then in terms of directing, when we were at this acting academy, we had to direct our own scenes. And I was always, at the time, I wanted to be an actor, right? But directing came so easy. I could see it very clearly, how this should be blocked. I wasn't really taught anything. And so I brought those principles, to filmmaking. There's usually a 2-week rehearsal I have with the actors on a stage. And we'll talk about character and relationships so that when we do get to set, because they have, a maximum of 5 takes, but sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 1. But when I lay that foundation down, it makes the film work, because film can be so technical sometimes, it can make it go by a little easier.
You just hit something that I don't think a lot of young filmmakers really focus on, and that is the rehearsal process.
Well, it really starts with the audition. I don't use casting directors. I had experience, and Karla has had experience with casting directors. I'm in the urban genre. They don't get it, they don't understand it, and they don't know how to cast that. So I developed a process where I wanted to weed out good actors from good auditioners, because I think actors that come here and take cold reading workshops and all that, they can't sustain a character. That's where I'm looking for the actor. So my process weeds all that out, because what I do is I'll bring someone in, and if I sense something, I'll bring them back for the callback, but the callback is also with other actors. So they'll work together, and I'll see who can work together, where the relationships start to be authentic. For a film I did called La Guapa, I had 5 possible leads, and I only had one Anthony Fernandez played the lead bad guy in that, and it's Guapa's his wife. I brought all 5 of them back, and the only one that wasn't intimidated by him was an actress named Grace Serrano, and she got the part. But it was a 3-hour process to get that. It's like I conduct my auditions like an acting workshop. So by the time we get to rehearsal, there's already an establishment of how I work as a director. And there's something about having the director in the room. The actors step up a little bit more, because it's not just the casting director. And I try to make them feel comfortable. I want them to do well. You know what I mean? Like, you're asking an actor to be vulnerable, at least give them the respect and try to make them as comfortable as possible. Some people don't care about those things. To me, it's all dealing with human emotion and vulnerabilities, and I don't believe in manipulation as a director.
Well, the important thing also, I think that a lot of young filmmakers have to understand, is that as a director, you are taking the responsibility of somebody. You are opening them. Mm-hmm. So they have to trust you, and that's crucial for an actor. If you're directing me and I'm not trusting you, I'm not giving you anything.
Right.
It's not going to work. So I think that is so valuable that you do give them that, because they get a sense of how you're taking care of them, because you're the daddy here.
Right.
You got to let them know that you're protecting them on set no matter what. You're not going to let anything happen to them. So it gives them the permission to go as far as they can. The
biggest compliment I get is when people are just normal moviegoers that come to my screenings. They just go, "Where did you find this actor? Wow, I really like this. How did they take note of the cast?" And that makes my job a lot easier once we're on set.
Marigold, the Matador, had no script. He would give us an idea of what was happening in the scene and what where he wanted it to end. And so you can't do that if you don't trust.
Right.
Even though we're married and I know what he's thinking, I have to be able to trust him, and he has to be able to trust that I can get there with the character. I think that is part of that is his ability to communicate that, and sometimes it's not communicated, and you have to just trust that you're in the right place. And being on set as an actor with him, very few directors that I've worked with work the way he does. I love working with him.
You made her audition?
What
the hell is that?
My goal is to make sure that the movie is as successful as it can be, and if it means that I'm not in it.
And the actress was Lydia Perez. I don't know if you know Lydia Perez, but she played her mother, and we actually, that's a crazy story. We were going to shoot that particular scene at midnight on a Sunday at a bar that I wasn't working at anymore, but they loved me, and they said, "Yeah, you can have the bar from midnight to 6 a.m. Fantastic. But we had gone to San Francisco with the family, got in an accident on the way to San Francisco. Still went after we got all checked out at the hospital. Came back with a damaged car. Thanksgiving. Rehearsal was Friday. Thanksgiving was Thursday when we got back. Friday was rehearsal, and then it was Saturday, not Sunday. We shot at midnight with Lydia and my daughter at this restaurant. That's an example of you don't stop. You keep going forward, you know.
An amazing free location. You have everyone booked. You're not going to cancel unless
No.
you just...
I mean, if we had all gotten injured, it would be a different story. Thank God we didn't.
The show must go on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I went
that's,
to work. I went
Yeah.
to work the day
The
after.
next day
so.
after her
But that's-
12 to 6.
that's independent filmmaking.
Yeah.
You got to keep going because you got the
Yeah,
location
no.
for one day. You don't have time to play.
We shot in the LA River, and that's a whole nother thing of permits and stuff. And it never rains in LA, but of course that day it was like thunderstorms, and I'm like, we're not going to be in the LA River with my family and my cast and get washed out. So I made the hard decision with my producer, who knew this was going to cause her some pain. I said, honey, we're gonna have to reschedule. She's like, okay, no problem. She was great. I mean, she was really good. She actually was my assistant, and I made her an associate producer because she was so helpful that I asked her to produce this film, and now she's gone on to produce other things. So
That's excellent.
Mostly female crew,
Well-
with the exception of the DP.
yeah, me and the DP were the only, and the one male actor. No one
Okay.
else on set.
Another question. The DP. Have you used the same DP for all your projects?
No, I've been fortunate. I've worked with, I guess, I have a lot of work, so I've worked with about 4 or 5 DPs.
Okay.
And one of them, Scott Daniels, who did Marigold the Matador, he had worked with me on Cholo Chaplin. He's been in my life for like 20 years. He's like really doing really well. He's a cameraman on James Corden's show now. He's doing really well. Very talented young man. And then Mike Teston's another filmmaker who's a director in the horror genre. He was my DP on 3 of my films. Yeah.
You do some really interesting camera
Compositions,
shots.
yeah.
Yes, I love it. I am so into Korean dramas.
Oh, wow.
And what I love about it is that some of them you could see that they storyboarded
Right.
every shot. You know, every shot looks like a picture, and some of your work looks like pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you storyboard, or is that just
No,
you guys
I don't
instinctively
storyboard.
doing?
Because I write all of my scripts, by the time I get to set, they are storyboarded, but I know exactly in my head what I'm going for. And my DPs have all liked the fact that I know what lenses I want. Now, some directors don't. Some directors care less. They say, this is what I want, and they let the DP interpret it. But I tell the DP exactly what I want. And every DP I've worked with has appreciated that. The only time that I would say I didn't do that was with Marigold. I had to trust Scott more, and Scott's a great shot composition. You know, he does great shot compositions. I attribute Marigold a lot to him. And what's interesting is he's there, and maybe I see he's off a little bit, and I'll just tap him on the shoulder, and he'll make the adjustment. When I work with Scott, it's like we're one, you know, because I'm not in Village, I'm over his shoulder. But with all the other ones, you know, I know when I want to use a 35 to a 28 to an 85, and I can call those things out. And a lot of the DPs I work with really appreciate that I know my lenses, I know, you know.
Important
Yeah.
stuff.
But I don't
Excellent.
storyboard. I don't shot list. I only shot listed and storyboarded for one film. That was because the DP requested that. For us to have a decent working relationship, I accommodated him on that one because I knew we didn't have a lot of time or money. And so I'm like, if this is what you need, then let's do it. I don't necessarily like to work that way, but let's do it.
Let's talk about distribution. It's nice to make a film, but if you keep it in the closet or in your computer, it doesn't help anybody.
No,
Maybe
absolutely.
talk about when we went to con, because that's really where we...
Yeah, I would say...
Well, let's back it up.
Yeah.
You went to con,
Yeah.
a Mexican in con. Let's talk about
Cholo
that.
Chaplin went to con.
Wow.
Yeah, we had done the first, I guess it was 5 episodes of The Misadventures of Cholo Chaplin. This is way before Coco, and I mean way before
Way
Coco. And we got into the short film corner, which is pretty much an open forum for any short films. But we...
At Cannes.
At Cannes, yeah.
Okay.
And we had some my very fortunate friends that and my parents gave us money to go. So we had just bought a house. So I was like, we can't really afford to do this, but we got to go, you know. So we went, and that was a huge education in terms of distribution. This is again before like digital content. And so we went there, and I met a guy named Peter Broderick who basically said, you've done a ton of work here. Do not give this away for free. Package it, sell it. That was when self-distribution was first coming out. This is 2008 now. or 2007. So when we got back, that's what I did. I had my best friend who was in graphic design at the time. She created a DVD cover. I had 1,000 DVD printed from a printing house, and I had this incredible DVD that looked like you would buy in a store, and submitted it to every film festival I possibly could, and Latino film festival, and got rejected by everybody. I said, okay, I have this very cool DVD. I'll just go to these festivals in LA that have rejected my work, and I'm just going to hand out my DVD. And so in doing that, there was a production company, distribution company at one of these festivals, saw it and said, wait, what is this? Why, I have to have this. We can sell this. This is awesome. This is exactly what we're looking for. And I said, well, it's only 30 minutes because they were short films. That's 5-6 minute episodes. He says, well, can you give me 90 minutes of content just so we could package it? And I said, look, even if I gave you my raw footage, it wouldn't be that. He said, well, do you have any feature film scripts in the urban genre? I said, of course I do. I didn't at the time. I just had treatments and, ideas. He said, listen, we have money for 3 films, and if we like what you're doing, you could be one of them. And I said, okay. So I'm working on the script right now. I'll have it to you by the end of April. This was March. And then I had to get to work. I actually had somebody that was going to give me $50,000 to make a feature film. So that's how I got distribution for that first project. In self-distribution for my short films, I got the attention of a distributor. The key to distribution in the independent world literally is genre specific. If you're doing science fiction, if you're doing horror, you're not going to have a problem getting distribution. Those aren't my genres. And I've tried to come up with ideas, but you never want to make something just so it can get distribution, right? I've been fortunate that the urban genre is my genre. I grew up with this genre. I love this genre, and I love making movies in this genre. I was just fortunate that it is a popular thing. I mean, you have Queen of the South on TV, you have Narcos, you have Mayans MC now. It's a popular genre in spite of the blowback they get for stereotypical characters. I love it. I love the characters, and I love the drama of it. That's essentially what I always tell people. If you're doing your coming of age story that your grandfather told you when you grew up, like, it's really going to be very hard for you to get distribution. If you have Brad Pitt attached to that project, it's going to be hard to get distribution. You have to look at what is being bought out there. I'm not saying you have to cater your creative vision to that. I'm just saying, know ahead of time, is this going to sell? And sometimes it's hard. Marigold the Matador, I know was not going to sell. I knew it, but I had to tell it anyway. Now I have it, and I'm focused on Netflix. Now there are avenues. It's not really distribution, it's just streaming. You can get it on Amazon Prime, you can get it on iTunes, your film, you can get it out that way. But true distribution is the company is putting some time and effort and money into promoting your movie. There's several ways to get your film out into the world now, but essentially it is through streaming. Netflix is the only one that pays up front for their content, which is what I'm saving Marigold for. That's the only thing. Counterpunch was a boxing film I did that got on Netflix. It ran for 2 years, and we didn't go to Sundance. There were Sundance films that didn't run that long on Netflix. It was a boxing drama, and that genre is popular. So it really is genre specific in terms of what you're doing, but you can get your stuff on for small fees on Amazon Prime and on iTunes, and a lot of filmmakers I know do that. Is there a lot of money involved in that? Not really.
What I've seen happening in distribution the last few years is that the distributors are raping the filmmakers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
That we've done several films where we didn't get what we should have gotten, and now they put it that they'll buy your work, but then you've got to pay, if you have union actors, you have to pay the residuals.
You're on the hook. The
producers, so you're not really making anything. They're taking and making money off of you.
This is the problem. The unions are they're never going to catch up. They're so far behind on this. This is why I'm always critical of our unions. And I know a lot of actors, and I'm starting to see it now in the audition process where actors are either going SAG-FICOR or they just want to keep their SAG eligibility. They don't want to be SAG because they know there's more independent work out there. But the problem is there's so much need for, and I hate the word content, but that's the word I'm going to use, need for content. That stuff is being made all over the world, and it's being distributed all over the world, and the distributor controls the numbers. We don't have access to that, and they're not obligated to give the producers access, especially if it's a straight acquisition. So to give you an example, like Beasts of No Nation was one of Netflix's first acquisitions from an independent filmmaker, and they paid $12 million for it, and it was a $3 million budget. they did pretty good. Now, someone told me, yeah, but what if Netflix made $100 million on it? I'm like, who cares? I go, because what would you rather, that you get nothing and then them tell you, oh, well, it didn't do as well as we thought it would. And that is the big lie. And you can get paid, but then you have to get, attorneys involved and audits involved. And as an independent filmmaker, you can't afford those things.
And that's another thing you have to be aware of as an independent filmmaker, is when you sell your project to a distribution house, you want to get what you can up front, because you're never going to get the back end.
Absolutely.
Never.
That's the best advice I can give any independent filmmaker, is get your money up front. There's no such thing as back end in independent filmmaking. There just isn't. And
they charge you for everything. It's just like when I worked in the record business. If you came in as an artist, you were immediately in the red. Mm-hmm. Your album had to go platinum, not gold, but platinum, in order for you to recoup stuff.
Wow.
They use the same formula. It is, we paid for marketing, we paid for distribution, we paid for ads, we did this, we did that. You never see that they did anything, but they have everything itemized, and there's no way you're going to get $2 back from it.
Right.
You're just not. And I personally think you have much better access to self-distribute.
Absolutely.
To make your own, to make a good living off of your project, than to give it to somebody who is not really going to do much, because everybody's not going to get to a Netflix. But you can recoup your money, and you can do well if you know how to utilize social media, if you know how to create a network for your projects.
There are very few filmmakers I've seen to be very successful in that, because that takes a whole different set of skills, and it also takes a lot more effort. And those aren't things that I'm very good at. I'm good at making the movie and getting it out there, but in terms of marketing, I just find it so... I don't like people that are constantly selling themselves, especially when you look behind. I always tell people, go deeper, look deeper. And when you look behind someone, the loudest voice in the room has usually done the least amount of work. And the person that is not the loudest person in the room, they're not, because they're working.
Right.
So.
Right. But I think in your case, or any filmmaker who really has a tremendous amount of good work, they need to partner with a loudmouth.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
need to partner with somebody who can toot their horn and has that business savvy to say, you know what, we do better if we stream through Vimeo as opposed to Amazon.
Right.
We do better if we do it this way. Let's go ahead and prepackage our own product and sell it on our website.
I always tell people, I said, look, success in this business is two things. It's you doing the work, and then the person that can get you to that next level, them noticing. It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. I haven't met that person yet, but I've continued to do the work. But I'm striving to get up here. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times I'm seeing people, independent filmmakers, that they're more concerned about having something to post on social media, that they're doing something. So I'm seeing a lot of people start things but not finish them. And when they do finish them, more care has been put into the red carpet gala than the actual film.
You are a seed that, even though, people might have counted you out and buried you, you are getting ready to just come through the ground like bamboo. Wow. You've been doing your films underground and doing excellent work and getting better and better and better. It's just a matter of time before it shoots up.
Yeah,
No one hustles like he does. No one I know. He is one of the most disciplined artists I know. He wakes up in the morning, takes my daughter to school, goes to a coffee shop of his choice, writes for 3 to 4 hours, goes home, takes a nap, and goes to work. At work, he comes home with napkins, with ideas. He comes home the next day, does the same thing. He writes every single day. Some days he writes 2 sentences. Some days I got home and he's like, I'm on fire. I just wrote 10 pages. But he does it every day, whether he has met his expectations. He's very hard on himself. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm like, you're working on 4 projects. You're working on 4 projects. How is that not doing anything?
So
Yes.
you are a great example of a healthy artist.
Wow, thank you.
You're a great example of a healthy artist who keeps moving the ball forward. And it doesn't matter how many paces. What matters is you're moving it. You know, I've been talking about your work, and I am encouraging everybody who's watching this to go check out his work. So where can we find your work at?
If they go to my website, all of my trailers are there, links to articles that will link you to all my work. You can just Google my name and find a lot of my stuff. I think Counterpunch is still streaming on Amazon Prime, so you can get it there. That was a boxing. Danny Trejo's in that, Stephen Bauer. I mean, those are two guys that came in to do this film who didn't know me and did it. I have to tell you, I've met all my heroes in this business, and those were the only two that said, I don't know who you are, but I love what you're doing. I love your energy. Let's do it. I know the money's not great. I know we got to work fast, and came in and do it. And these are guys that don't preach about support and all that stuff. They do it. You know what I mean? They don't talk about it. They do it.